Today I'm going for 100% in Kingdom Hearts 1.5 Final Mix Steam Edition. With 55 achievements to collect, I have to beat the game on its hardest difficulty, collect every Trinity Mark, all 99 Dalmatians, every synthesis item, complete Jiminy's journal, beat every secret boss, and much, much more. This is going to be one hell of a journey, so pull up your socks, grab some snacks, sit back and relax while I show you. So first things first, we gotta start a new game. And you know I'm playing on Proud Mode, baby, I ain't no bitch. Once I listen to Sora's deep philosophy, our first order of business is to choose a starting weapon. This affects your stats and abilities for the rest of the game. If you're new to Kingdom Hearts, I always recommend taking the shield on Proud Mode, since it gives the best defensive opportunities the earliest. But I've been around the block a few times, so I'm going full glass cannon today, taking the staff for that sweet, sweet MP, baby. While learning that barrels are actually deadly weapons in this game, we find our first chest to kick off one of the collectible achievements. Next up, I choose my EXP route by chatting with all my Final Fantasy friends. By choosing the last option for all of their questions, it guarantees that I start my journey at dusk and shaves off over 100,000 needed total XP to hit level 100. It takes a lot longer in the early levels, but saves a lot of time in the long run. We smack Darkseid in the face a few times, and then I'm off to taking eggs from birds. In this initial Proud playthrough, I'm aiming to get every achievement except for 3. These final 3 will require playing the entire story with specific rules like never dying, and I do quite a bit of that on Proud Mode. But once Sora wakes up from his fever dream, we meet up with Riku and Kairi and learn of their goal to sail away from Destiny Island and adventure to new worlds. The first hour or so of gameplay is all about collecting items, embarrassing Titus with a stick, and meeting a placeholder asset in a cave. Wait, that made it into the game? Who would have thought?
Not me.
Anyways, after absolutely schooling Riku in a foot race, proving once and for all that you are the superior being, we grab a protect chain for my second chest. The night before we plan to leave, the island gets spirit bombed by Goku Black, Kairi becomes a ghost, Riku gets swallowed up by darkness, and Sora's entire life gets destroyed before our very eyes. But at least I get this big ass key, so that's pretty cool. As the world comes to an end, I take on Darkseid Part 2, then wake up in Traverse Town more confused than John Travolta. After having a chat with Sid, I run around town to fight some Heartless, which triggers the cutscene where Leon challenges me to a fight and smacks me around like I'm Mike Tyson's punching bag. Once I wake up, I learn I'm the chosen wielder of the Keyblade. And there's this guy named Ansem who's like important or something. I don't know, man, I'm just trying to find my friends here. This chest gives me an elixir, and if you smack the clock enough times, we get a chest for a mithril. Now that we're prepared to head on out, we get to witness the best cutscene in the game. Donald gets pancaked by a door, and Leon absolutely bodies a Heartless through a second story window. God, I love this game. After defeating some soldiers, we grab a chest at the end of the alley with a potion, and one on the balcony for a pretty stone. And we're finally off to transform the iconic hero into the iconic trio. Just in time for the first real boss fight. Guard armor. This guy can clap your ass hard on Proud Mode, so it's best to take your time. After the fight, Donald teaches me fire so I can finally start up my machine gun, and Goofy teaches me how to dodge roll. Before we leave, I buy Donald and Goofy new weapons and grab the first few Trinities. Then, we're off to Wonderland. We make our way to the Queen's Castle, and Sora being the good boy we all know and love, he gets us sent on a quest to find evidence and clear Alice's name. My goal was to find all 4 pieces of evidence to get the Blizzard spell early, and I find the first 3, one beside a blue Trinity, another back in the Bazaar Room where Donald and Doofy are making a new species, and I find the third along with my first Dalmatians chest. For the 4th one, you're supposed to give this flower a potion to grow big, but I wasted all my potions messing around and end up flying back to Traverse Town to pick up some more. Except, when I make my way back to Wonderland, I forgot why I left in the first place, and I just decide to move on with the story. At least my journey unlocked my first achievement, Test Pilot, for completing a gummy mission. I give all the evidence, -1, to a heart card, and then the Queen makes me play Innocence Roulette. It doesn't really matter what you pick here, the outcome is mostly the same. But of course, I picked incorrectly, meaning Donald and Goofy were trapped for the next fight. We take out the Crank Tower only to find out, oh no! Alice is missing. So I go turn on some lamps, and then make my way back to the Queen's Castle through a shortcut. I grab a Thundara G and save before the big boss of Wonderland. I trick the Trickmaster into no longer being alive, and I finally get Blizzard from the Cheshire Cat. This boss can be pretty annoying because of his weird hitbox and the fireballs he throws out, but it's not too challenging once you actually get the hang of it. After returning to the gummy ship, we get achievement number 2, the rabbit hole. Next up in story order is the Olympus Coliseum, but there's no way I'm taking on Cloud without Cure, so I head off the deep jungle instead. As soon as we land, we get jumped by Sabor and meet Tarzan, my first guest companion in the game. Meanwhile, Donald is waiting to be painted like one of your French girls. I slide down the tree into the camp, pick up all the slides, and head into the tent to have a chat with Jane. After Jane briefly spoils Hollow Bastion for me, I grab a Mithril Shard in the tent, and then swap in Donald and Goofy to grab a Blue Trinity in the camp for Dalmatians 34, 35, and 36. Before making our way back to the treehouse, I head over to the cliffs to grab a Mithril and a Mega Potion. On the way up to the treetops, I grab a Mithril and Vines 2 and arrive just in time to watch a cutscene of Clayton performing attempted 8 murder. Heading back to the camp, I find a chest that I missed earlier for a Mega Ether, and then I get to see Jane remount Clayton for being a real bad boy. And now the Heartless have arrived. I travel all across Deep Jungle to save the apes from the monkeys, and I find another chest I missed in Vines 2 that gets me Dalmatians 28, 29, and 30. After saving the planet of the apes, you guessed it, I head back to the camp, talk to Jane, and fight Sabor for the final time. And now Jane is missing. Where could she be? Yup, we gotta go back towards the treehouse and find her in the climbing trees. Here we have to smack around the big black fruit. I grab the Blue Trinity for a Thundargy and head, yet again, back towards the camp. I quickly grab a save in the tent and then head off to fight the big bad of Deep Jungle. We're first confronted by Clayton and some Power Wilds, and then we get to the real final fight where we face Clayton atop his majestic steed, the Stealth Sneak. Clayton on his own is relatively easy. You just jump around to avoid his shots and smack him a couple times until it's Stealth Sneak time. Even though the Stealth Sneak is invisible, you can lock onto it. And I do my best to stay behind its head and perform air combos until Clayton's thrown off. I recommend taking down the Stealth Sneak first, even though it won't permanently kill it, as I find Clayton's gun way easier to avoid than the Stealth Sneak's stupid homing laser eyes that pop you instantly on Proud Mode. Once the Stealth Sneak is dealt with, I can basically just stun lock Clayton to death before the lizard has time to get back up. Beating the boss rewards me with Cure, which I immediately map to my shortcuts, and then get thrown by Kerchak to Waterfall Cavern. Here I have to go through some janky platforming to reach this world's keyhole. And on my way up, I find myself a Mithril Shard, Dalmatians 31, 32, and 33, a Mithril, and an Orichalcum. I seal the keyhole, completing this world and get the Member of the Tribe achievement, along with the Jungle King Keyblade. Next, it's off to the Coliseum. And right out the gate, I grab a Blue Trinity for a Mithril Shard, and immediately next to it is a chest with a Mega Potion. I continue into the lobby where Phil asks me to help him set up for the game. After ripping through Barrel Buster Simulator 2002, Phil rewards me with Thunder, and I head out to get the preliminary pass from Hades. But I wanted to stop off in Traverse Town before taking on the big dog. I have a chat with Sid and then jump on his bookshelf to grab a Mithril Shard, then stop by the shop to upgrade Donald and Goofy's weapons. Next, I head over to the alley to use my newly obtained Red Trinity, and bust on through to the secret waterway. Leon congratulates me on sealing some keyholes, and talking to him a second time, he tells me that Sid's the guy for all things gummy, and hands me the Earth Shine. I grab a chest with dogs 10, 11, and 12 while I'm here and make my way out. Now, I'm supposed to go chat with Sid, but I wasn't paying any attention to Leon because I know what I'm doing. I've played this game before, so I head on over to the wizard's house instead. Merlin shows me his dancing furniture, and I grab the Blue Trinity that's here, but then I realize I have to make my way back to District 1 to talk with Sid. He gives me the Pooh book, and now it's time to visit the wizard. Talking to Merlin gives him the book, and the fairy godmother unlocks my first summon, Simba. After heading back to the 3rd district, I reunite with Riku for the first time and play some Keyblade tag before he just straight up vanishes. Then I make my way over to the small house where the Final Fantasy crew offloads some exposition, and Maleficent starts brainwashing Riku. Now it's finally time for the preliminaries. You just have to beat a bunch of Heartless back to back and it culminates in a battle with Cloud, which for first timers can be a bit of a blocking point, but once you take him down, it's time for the real final boss, Cerberus. After defeating the big doggy, there's not much else to do here for now, so I head to the Coliseum gates, pick up a Trinity for a chest with some dogs, and head on out where Cloud rewards me with the Sonic Blade ability. Now I can finally rip on over to Agrabah. After some villain exposition, I'm immediately confronted by some bandits. When I defeat them all, I grab a chest to the left and hop up on the ledge to the right for a Mega Ether. In the storage room, I find a save point and a chest behind a barrel for a Mega Potion. I make my way on over to Aladdin's house, free the magic carpet, and grab a Scissors G and a Mega Elixir. Now it's time to head on over to the alley for a cutscene with Jafar. After he unleashes some Heartless that immediately put Donald to sleep, I jump up to where we saw him to grab a Mega Potion and open the keyhole. After I pick up this Mega Ether, I realize I'm just straight up lost. I wander around Agrabah for a while and finally find the keyhole I need in Aladdin's house, but I still don't realize that I'm supposed to go to the desert, so I spend another 20 minutes just putzing around and beating up Heartless. At least I added to my chest collection, finding a cottage in a dark matter. And finally I develop some brain cells and go on a magic carpet ride to rescue Aladdin. Once we're back in the plaza, I have to jump up and platform across here to go through the door into the main street. Next up, we can go through the newly opened door into the bazaar. Here I grab a Thundara G and hop across for a fire ring and to unlock the keyhole. I quickly swap in Donald and Goofy to snag the Blue Trinity, and then it's boss time. We go through the newly opened gate, watch a cutscene, and fight the pot centipede. This guy really sucks to fight. You have to attack his head or a tail enough times for him to break apart, and then you're going to want to destroy as many pots as possible in this time, or you're going to be dive bomb out of nowhere. And basically, you just rinse and repeat this, chasing the boss around the map until he dies. I don't really have a great strategy for this boss other than to play it safe and use Cure generously. Let me know if you guys have a quick way to mess him up in the comments. Now it's time to head back into the desert to fight yet another annoying boss against the Cave Mouth. You have to destroy both eyes individually to beat this boss while it's constantly moving around and throwing random Heartless at you. I find the best way is to just wait for him to nosedive into the sand and then start blasting him with air combos. With the Cave Mouth defeated, we can head on into the Cave of Wonders. And I got lost again. Maybe I'm just stupid, but it took me forever to remember the proper progression path in this world. It didn't help that I didn't realize you could actually swim up the waterfalls. I mean, intuitively, who would ever think that you could do that? Anyway, I initially fell off the ledge into the relic chamber where I found a thunder ring and found a mega ether on my way back up. In the next room over, we grab an elixir and fall off the ledge yet again, but we get to find a Blue Trinity and a torn page. On our way to the treasure room, we pick up a cottage and realize, uh-oh, SpaghettiOs, our way is blocked. Now this is where I really lost my way, and I roamed around for like a solid hour before I remembered that magic is a part of the game, and I hit this pillar with a fire spell to get access to the boss fight. At least in my rambling journey, I picked up a Red Trinity, a Meteor G, and a chest for a Mega Potion. First boss up is Jafar and Genie. This fight is, once again, kind of annoying, but not all that tough. Kind of a theme here in Agrabah. Defeating Jafar grants me Blazara, and I head back into the treasure room to save before phase 2 of the boss. Jumping down into the pit starts the fight with Genie Jafar. Again, this boss is more annoying than hard. Jafar himself is more of a stage hazard than an actual threat, so I just have to spam jump combos on the bird until he finally goes down. And then I get Fyra and Ansem's Report 1 for my troubles. After sealing the keyhole, we escape on a flying carpet and go through some cutscenes. I got Genie as a summon and the 3 Wishes Keyblade, using a save point to return to the gummy ship and get the Magic Lamp achievement. I'm so glad that world is over with. I mean, I love Aladdin, but man, that world frustrated the hell out of me. Next up is Whale. Pinocchio is up to his usual thievery, and then he wanders off into Monstro's stomach. This guy is such a little goblin in this game, just look at the face he pulls here. To continue, I enter the large hole to get into Chamber 1, and Monstro's dummy can be a bit confusing if you don't know where to go, so just follow the glowing green light. Along the journey through the maze, I grab pups 55 to 57, an Osmos G, a Thundaga G, and 2 Mega Ethers. And now we're done with that godforsaken maze. All that's left is the fight from hell. Now it's not the fight itself that's the problem, it's the irreparable damage to my eardrums from Pinocchio's high-pitched screams. After the fight, I head on through this butthole looking thing and end up back in Monstro's entry room. I make sure to grab the high jump ability and equip it immediately. We pick up a Scan G and the Blue Trinity that's now acceptable and head on up to fight the final boss. Second verse, same as the first. After taking down the parasite cage, Sora learns stop and the gummy ship spits me back out towards Agrabah, granting me the Honest Soul achievement. So I head back to Traverse Town to use the Green Trinity and open the Synthesis shop. Here I grab a Mithril Shard and Dalmatian 7, 8, and 9. I putz around Traverse Town for a bit for God knows what reason. Hey, look, a pretty stone. And then I head off for my favorite Disney world, Halloween Town. I meet the absolute goat of KH1 companions, Jack Skellington, and go to the lab where we try to unlock the Doctor's fake heart. Only we fail and get sent on a mission to find the missing components. After doing some ghost busting, I get the Forget-Me-Not from Sally, and then do some coffin hopping to find the mayor and get the Jack-in-the-Box. After we so graciously deliver it to the dock, the heart gets stolen and I head off to Oogie's Manor to hunt down Lock, Shock, and Barrel. I grab a Flare G from under the bridge, but I accidentally end up back in the starting room, so I have to fight through hordes of Heartless again, and this time I go straight through the gate. I find an ether outside the front door and decide to go skydiving. But hey, at least I get to ride a bathtub. A phrase I never thought I'd have to say. Inside the front door is another ether, and I make my way up the winding path to the top, where I get to smack some kids around with a giant key. Again, a phrase I never thought I'd say. I flip the switch and make my way to the torture chamber to fight my least favorite boss in the game. It's not hard, it just takes so damn long. At least Oogie's janky walk animation and his hilarious voice lines give me a little bit of entertainment. But with this fight out of the way, it's time for Oogie Boogie's second phase. This time, he's just a big house. We platform up to pop his purple pimples, all while dodging fire attacks and contending with Heartless. Again, it's not that hard, and I actually like this fight a lot more than the first Oogie battle, except for the fact that it took me forever to find this last purple orb hiding under a platform. Nonetheless, I got the job done, which gave me the gravity spell and the spooky keyblade. Before heading out, I grab a chest under Jack's house for Thundaraji and head back to the gummy ship to get the achievement Pumpkin Prince. Next up is Atlantica. And many a Kingdom Hearts fan claim this to be the worst world in the game, and while it's far from my personal favorite, I would still put it way above Monstro. Regardless, we get our bearings now that we're under the sea and swim on down all the way to the palace. Waterlogged Santa Claus yells at us for talking about the keyhole, and Ariel storms off like she was just told she can't go to Warp Tour this year. Then we're forced to watch this close-up of Ursula. Continuing with the plot, we made our way to the sunken ship, where I beat up some boxes to find a mithril shard. And then we get jump scared by Mr. Shark Boy before grabbing the crystal trident. After I leave the ship, the shark attacks, and if you take him out, he drops some pretty good loot. Back in Ariel's grotto, we put the crystal trident in the obvious crystal trident hole, but Daddy Merman comes in and says, "You're not part of the turbo team!" And then he drops the biggest Kingdom Hearts lore in the entire game. Now we gotta go save the rude dude's ass because he lost his trident, so we head back to the palace and pick up our boy Sebastian, and then we can unlock the hidden door in the sunken ship zone. And then it's time to take on Ursula for the first time. This fight's actually a pretty good change of pace for boss mechanics. It forces you to use magic by spamming her cauldron with fire or blizzard based on the color that shows up until it explodes. This gives you free reign to combo her with the Keyblade until she wakes up and comes at you like a Beyblade. Beating her grants me the Dolphin Kick ability so we can swim up the Whirlpool current and take on Big Ursula. But shortly after I start the battle, I remember I don't have Arrow yet, which is almost a requirement to make this fight not a living nightmare. So I pause on Atlantica and head back to Traverse Town to take on Opposite Armor. Using the Red Trinity on the roof and ringing the bell 3 times shows us the Traverse Town keyhole and brings back a familiar face. Once I show Guard Armor I've been hit in the gym, he shows me that he can make his hands his feet. At my current level, Opposite Armor was a complete cakewalk. I seal the keyhole, learn the arrow spell, and get myself the achievement Where the Bells Toll. So, we zip back to Atlantica and take on Bursula for the second time, making her look like a joke with our new defenses. Triton feels bad about calling me a no-good Keyblade wielder, shows us the keyhole to seal, and Atlantica is done. Heading out to the gummy ship grants me the Master of the Seas achievement, and now it's time for our final Disney World, Neverland. Riku baits me with Zombie Kairi, steals my shadow, and then throws me in the brig. Sora's off daydreaming about his girl, and we meet Peter Pan, who's honestly a straight-up douche canoe. So I decide to continue on with the duck and the dog. After a cutscene where Wendy and Kairi get kidnapped from being kidnapped, I grab myself a Meteor G and jump through the hole in the roof. Using the Green Trinity to drop the ladder, I climb up to fight Anti-Sora, and this guy's a real pain, dipping into the floor over and over again. If you're really having trouble, you can cheese him with Stop, but I prefer to fight the real fight if I can. Once I get my shadow back, I grab a chest for Dalmatians 88, 89, and 90, and drop down to see Peter Pan fly off with Wendy. Here I grab a Proterra chain and head right on back up to the deck for the final boss. Just as we're about to get gatored, I get the ability to fly and an upgrade to Cure. We take out a couple waves of Heartless, and then it's time to take on the captain himself. I actually recommend taking out the Heartless ships when they spawn because they can be a bit annoying. Also, flying away from the ship baits Captain Hook into falling into the water, and it's just fucking hilarious to watch him yeet himself through the air. When it comes to Hook himself, I like to put Peter Pan in over Goofy since he has a better chance of staggering Hook, and then I just spam X and use Cure when I need to, and Hook goes down pretty easily. Taking him out rewards me with Ansem's Report 9 and the Ars Arcanum ability. Now we're at the big clock tower and I grab a Flare G and smack the clock a few times to seal the keyhole. This gets me the Glide ability and the Fairy Harp Keyblade. Back on the gummy ship, I get the Captain Hook achievement, and it's back to Traverse Town to install our newly found Navi G. While I'm here, I pay Geppetto a visit, and he gives me a bunch of gummy blueprints. And then we grab the Wishing Star Keyblade.
My disappointment is immeasurable.
Next, I head over to Ye Old Wizard and grab the Spellbinder, and then go on a postcard hunt. There's 10 in total, and 2 of which add to my chest counter, and getting all 10 and depositing them gets me all this shit. And finally, it's time for my absolute favorite world in the game, Hollow Bastion. I freeze the bubbles to platform around, grabbing a Blizzara ring and Dalmatians 91, 92, and 93. Then Riku straight up becomes Neo and steals my Keyblade. Doddle and Goofy say peace out guy because apparently a key is more important than the power of friendship. All is well though because my boy Beast has my back. I grab a Mega Elixir and a Life G on the floor and then immediately head down to the dungeon area. I take the first bubble to head underground and find a fire ring. Beast obliterates the steel bars, letting me bubble to another section. I grab a Thundaga G and an Ultima G after a mild B&E, and now it's puzzle time. It's pretty straightforward. You just press the first button to unlock the next, and keep doing that until you reach the switch that opens the castle gates. And if you're lucky, Beast will show off his immaculate AI. Back at the dungeon entrance, I pick up a Mithril, a Thundara G, and a Paper G. Then I make my way back to the castle gates. All the princesses are trapped in carbonite, supposedly fueling Maleficent's giant keyhole. Sora gives the best good boy speech you ever did hear. Riku makes this noise. And we get the Keyblade back. We take on Riku for the first time, and this is where things pick up a bit in difficulty. But for the most part, you can dodge or guard Riku's attacks and get a hit or two in to take him down slowly but surely. Next, I pick up a Green Trinity to do some bookkeeping and unlock the secret lift stop. I grab an Ultima G and swing all these pillars for an Elixir, a Mega Potion, and a Mithril. After completing all the mini-games, we get all the emblem pieces, adding a Red Trinity and another chest to the counter, and we're prepared to start the beginning of the end. But first, I want to go achievement hunting now that I've got the White Trinity. First stop is the White Trinity in the pool near the starting area to get a Thundaga G. Then I remember there's a Blue Trinity in the basement I couldn't get with Beast, so I head down to the dungeon to grab that with the boys. At the Coliseum, I grab the White Trinity and head on in for the Phil Cup. Honestly, I recommend doing the tournaments as you unlock the ability to, because doing them now was an absolute cakewalk. I'm pretty much one-shotting everything in the Phil Cup, but at least I smashed my 2000th Heartless for the Heartless Hunter achievement. And finishing up the Phil Cup gets me a Gravity upgrade and the Novice Hero achievement. The Pegasus Cup's only small challenge is Yuffie and Leon, but even they go down relatively swiftly. Still, I recommend taking out Yuffie first because she can heal and prolong the fight. Taking out my Final Fantasy comrades gets me the Strike Rate ability and the Artisan Hero achievement. In the Hurt Cup, the only real challenge is Cloud with some added flair compared to your first encounter. The key here is to dodge and wait for him to do his dynamic entry attack. Then you can get a jump combo on him. Or you can guard his 3-swing attack to give yourself an opening. Herc himself is the final seed, but honestly, he's so easy it's not even worth talking about. With Herc defeated, I get the Hero of the Coliseum achievement, Herc's Shield, the Olympia Keyblade, and unlock the Yellow Trinity. I push the big boulder to seal the Olympus keyhole to get the Junior Hero achievement. And then, I get to work on Jiminy's journal. First off, I head to Wonderland to land in the rabbit hole and grab a Green Trinity. Then find another one in the fireplace of the Bazaar Room for a Mithril Shard. In the Lotus Forest, I grow big and strong to push this boulder, which gives me access to a Blue Trinity and a Thundara G. Going through the secret door, I find a chest with Dalmatians 13, 14, and 15, and then back in the Lotus Forest, I glide around for a Scan G and an Orichalcum. I find Dalmatians 19, 20, and 21 and a Flare G on top of the hedge in the Tea Party Gardens. Entering the Bazaar Room from the ledge in the corner, I light the lamps to get a defense up and open a secret door to a White Trinity. This gets me my favorite Keyblade in the game, Lady Luck, as well as Dalmatians 58, 59, and 60. On the way out, I pick up a Meteor G and make my way back to the Coliseum for some cleanup. I missed a Green Trinity earlier and I blizzard all the fires to get myself a Holy G. Next up is Deep Jungle. I start in the Vines to play through the time trial and start working on the minigame completion. A good note, you don't actually have to complete any of the minigames, just attempt them to get the completion in Jiminy's journal. This is helpful for me because I fell off the Vines immediately into Hippo's Lagoon. My consolation, however, is dogs 25, 26, and 27. And I make my way back up to the treehouse for a Mega Potion, a Mithril, and finally, my 100th chest on top of the world to unlock the Treasure Hunter achievement. I cross off the Jungle Slider minigame while making my way back to the Gummy Ship and head on over to Agrabah. We grab a bunch of treasures here that are sure to help us with the synth grind later on, but the important stuff is Dalmatians 46, 47, and 48, as well as dogs 37 to 39. And at this point, I was starting to get kind of bored of the grind, so I thought I'd push the plot forward a bit. Once we're back in Hollow Bastion, I land in the library and make a pit stop to grab Dalmatians 97, 98, and 99. We get to watch Riku so panicked he hallucinates a smooth-talking Jawa before heading up the mighty maze of the Hollow Bastion castle. As soon as I step outside, of course I get Dragon Rage right over the edge, so I have to make my way all the way back up while Beast is handing out penalties to all the Heartless. But after taking out all the Wyverns, I platform around to grab some chests, including Dalmatians 94 to 96. Once we're nearly to the top, we get some plot and witness Riku and Ansem become one. And hey look, he's got his own Keyblade now. Next we gotta take on Maleficent. Now it's not too bad, I just wait until she starts floating around and use gravity to get in some combos. The only thing you really gotta look out for is her big energy balls, but this is a good opportunity to take down the Heartless summons and get some of your MP back. Other than that, it's pretty much gravity, jump combo, rinse and repeat. Taking her out gets me Ansem's report 5, and now she's got some heartburn. So Riku gives her a cure by removing her heart entirely. And now it's dragon time. I'm dragging these balls across your face, Maleficent. She's got a lot of health and does pretty substantial damage, so she can actually be a tough fight. The general game plan was just to get a combo in and wait for the next attack animation. The thing you really gotta look out for is phase 2 and 3 where she starts covering the whole floor with fire. I usually just wait it out, but you can always run to the side and make her turn towards you and away from the flames. Other than that, we just try not to die. Once we beat her, we get Mushu's Summon Stone for my troubles and decide to clean up a bit more side content before taking on Riku. We're back in the Coliseum and we solo the Phil Cup for the Soloist achievement, then do it again but fast this time for the Time Attacker achievement. After these few achievements under my belt, I'm feeling pretty confident enough to take on Riku Ansem, so I head on back to Hollow Bastion. Oh boy, this fight separates the boys from the men. The first phase ain't too bad, you can easily walk around his jump attack and get a combo in before he retaliates. Phase 2 has a bit more to dodge, but I still have my opportunities for combos, and if you're skilled enough, you can guard his light rings to shove some damage back at him. Phase 3, however. Phase 3 is the reason why Riku Ansem took me over a full hour to beat. Honestly, I only beat him because I used the Strike Raid cheese to rush him down in phase 3. I did beat him on my first try with the Strike Raid strat, but man, this boss is so unforgiving. This is truly a get good or perish kind of boss, and even thinking about it now gives me flashbacks. I can only really recommend taking your time and being more defensive than offensive to whittle him down a little bit at a time. Honestly, if you're having a lot of trouble, this is the one boss I felt validated in cheesing a bit. But finally, after Riku Ansem is taken down, we get to watch my second favorite cutscene in the game. Sora sacrifices himself to release Kairi's heart from his own and becomes a Heartless. And bro, being a Heartless is so damn fun. Just look at how janky my little gremlin walk is. No, look at it in 2 times speed. It's just so fucking funny, man. But anyway, I go back to the start just outside the library, and this time it's Kairi who saves me. Sora returns to normal, and we all escape to Traverse Town, and now all the Heartless in every world are way more powerful. Now it's time to do some big work towards achievements before getting to the finale. I kick things off by grabbing a few more weapons from the item shop, then hit the Red Trinity in District 1 to grab Dalmatians 4, 5, and 6. I head on over to the secret waterway, and on the way there, I get a crazy lucky drop, the Wizard's Relic. In the waterway, I get the White Trinity and pick up the Navi G from the mural. Kairi gives me her lucky charm, and I get the Oathkeeper achievement. And then head on out to round up some collectibles. First stop is Deep Jungle, where I zip over to Waterfall Cave to get the White Trinity near the keyhole. In Agrabah, we're missing the Green Trinity in the storage, a White Trinity at the entrance of the Cave of Wonders, as well as a Yellow Trinity, along with Dalmatians 49, 50, and 51. Next stop is Monstro. In the mouth, I finally pick up the Water Gleam Summon Gem and hit the Green Trinity on top of the ship. Next up is the Blue Trinity on the floor of the throat, and then back in the mouth I pick up Dalmatians 73, 74, and 75. And you've probably been wondering, hey Biscuit, why are you so all over the place with the completion of things? Surely there's a much more efficient way of doing things, right? Well, you'd be right. But I get bored super easy, and sometimes you just gotta stop and smell the roses. Anyway, I pick up Dalmatians 76, 77, and 78 in Chamber 3, a Torn Page in Chamber 6, and I find a Blue Trinity in Chamber 5. Except, I die before we can leave the room. This will be important later. I finish up Monstro with a White Trinity in Dalmatians 79 to 81, and I zip over to Atlantica. The only thing that we need here is the White Trinity just outside of Triton's Palace, but I managed to find a Mithril Shard and a red shell for coming all the way over here. Next stop is Halloween Town. In the Curly Hill room, I grab the White Trinity to get Dalmatians 67, 68, and 69. Down in the Mansion Ruins, I grab Dalmatians 40, 41, and 42. Then I spend a solid 30 minutes trying to figure out how to get this goddamn Red Trinity to work, only to learn that it's bugged because of a mini-boss that spawns here. It's only accessible once you beat all the Heartless in the area, but I said fuck that. I'm not fighting this janky-ass boss today. And so I cheesed the Trinity by spamming triangle as I dropped down before any Heartless could spawn. Then I grabbed Dalmatian 64, 65, and 66 in the graveyard, and that finished up Halloween Town for me. At least for now. So I made my way over to Neverland to grab the Yellow Trinity and snag Dalmatians 85 to 87. as well as an upgrade for Arrow. At this point, I started zeroing in on specific collectible achievements, starting off with the Trinities. Back in Traverse Town, I grab a blue Trinity in the 3rd district, the final yellow Trinity behind Merlin's house, and Dalmatians 1, 2, and 3 while I'm here. In Deep Jungle, I grab the final green Trinity in the treetops, then the final white Trinity in Neverland on the ship deck for Dalmatians 43 to 45. And now, I'm stumped. I know I'm only missing 2 blue Trinities, and I know I missed one in Hollow Bastion, but where could the other one be? I check Wonderland, Deep Jungle, Traverse Town, everywhere I think I could have missed. I know I got that one in Monstro, right? Wrong, you stupid. So I get the blue Trinity in Monstro and make sure it saves this time. Now the only one left is in Hollow Bastion. We'll save the final one for now and move on to the last of the puppies. I find Dalmatians 52, 53, and 54 in Agrabah, 70 to 72 in Halloween Town, 82 to 84 in Neverland, and head off to Hollow Bastion for the last few. Before I head on out, I pimp out my gummy ship to travel in style and get the Customizer achievement. Landing in Hollow Bastion, I make my way back up the castle, picking up the last Trinity on the way, netting me the Best Friend achievement. And in the room we fought Riku Ansem, I find the final 3 dogs, 61, 62, and 63, to get the Top Dog achievement. I grab a Dark Matter and Oblivion in the same room as the dogs and then head down to the library for the Divine Rose. While we're here in Hollow Bastion, I take on the Behemoth, and this guy is super easy. I just jump on his back, smack his horn until he's stunned, and then jump combo him while he's down. With the big horn boy defeated, Leon and the gang are waiting for me, and I seal the keyhole. The princesses upgrade my fire spell, and I dip down to the library again to get Ansem's report 2, 4, 6, and 8, as well as a cure upgrade from Aerith. After taking off, I'm rewarded with the End of the World achievement. Now it's back to the completion list, baby. This time, we're doing the 100 Acre Woods. I grab the remaining 3 pages from Atlantica, Halloween Town, and the Dalmatian House, where I also get a cute little cutscene, a bunch of items, and the arrow upgrade from Pongo and Perdita. Then it's back to Pooh's World to complete all the mini-games. I'm gonna skip over this as it's pretty straightforward and I find them pretty boring. But the items we got are a Nature Spark Summon Gem from page 1, a Mithril Shard from page 2, a Stop upgrade from page 3, a Dark Matter and Mithril while exploring page 4, completing it gets me another Mithril, and the final page rewards me with an EXP ring. We seal the 100 Acre Woods keyhole to get the Pooh's Friend achievement and get the Minigame Master achievement for doing every single minigame. Talking to the Fairy Godmother unlocks the final summons and gets me Donald's Lord's Fortune Staff. With Jiminy's Journal about as complete as it can be without progressing the story, it's time for, you guessed it, gummy missions. I'll spare you the details, but completing a World's Tier 1 mission gets me Test Pilot, which was my first achievement. Clearing the Tier 2 mission gets me Veteran Pilot, and clearing a Tier 3 mission gets me Ace Pilot. I did all the Traverse Town missions, but I really recommend picking a different world because the 3rd Traverse Town mission is just a pain in the ass to complete. I knock off a few items on the Synth list to get the first Synthesis achievement and the Synthesis Novice achievement. Before I head out, I pick up a few more weapons for the boys at the shop, and then finally made my trek to the End of the World. And landing here gets me the Top Gun achievement for clearing all gummy routes. We go through a series of unavoidable combats against one of my favorite Heartless designs, the Invisibles, among some other new enemies like the Angels and the Behemoths that look like they're an ambassador for a 2010 skateboarding brand. The next section is a weird platforming area where I make sure to grab the Meteor Strike weapon for Donald. And now we're in the World Terminus. And since we sealed every single keyhole, we don't have to go into any of these pillars, but honestly, I recommend doing them anyway because they net some nice items. At the very least, you have to complete the Neverland portal to get the Mithril Shield for an achievement later on. And make sure to save in the 100 Acre Woods portal and pop on through the Fire Red Pillar to take on some Invisibles. After reading the enormous lore dump, I head out the way I came and drop down the hole to take on the big bad Chernobog. This guy can be pretty tough your first time around, but the strat is to make sure to keep arrow up at all times. You fly away when he does his big flame attack, and as long as you attack him from behind, things go pretty smoothly. Beating him gets me the Super Glide ability, and I make my way down through a portal to take on the big enemy rush, starting with the Blue Behemoth. I summon Tinkerbell after I take out the Behemoth, even though it kind of trivializes the fight, but it's kind of nice to turn my brain off and just spam X for a bit. And now, we're at the final rest. This is the last save before the final boss rush, so I make sure I've got all the items and abilities that I need before proceeding. Now we're back on Destiny Island, but it's all purple and crackly this time. Riku turns into Ansem, Sora gives his typical hearts are light speech, and we start the fight. This first fight isn't too bad, and you can summon Tink here if you're really struggling. The only attack to really look out for is when he yells. If Ansem's stand grabs you, it's a real pain in the ass. It does damage over time and messes with your ability to attack. It's generally easy to avoid, and getting grabbed doesn't mean immediate death, but fuck man, this is annoying when it hits. After I defeat Ansem Part 1, I restock my items and take on Darkseid. Not much to say here, he's basically the same as the beginning of the game. At least it's a good way to build up some MP before the second Ansem fight. This second fight is very similar to the first fight against Ansem, but you don't have Donald and Goofy to back you up, and he has a few extra abilities. Again, the big one to look out for is his submit attack, but another tricky one is when he dashes at you after yelling, this can easily take you down if you're not careful. The easiest way to deal with it is to use guard to stop him in his tracks, as dodging 5 times in a row isn't all that consistent. In his final phase, he becomes invulnerable and runs to the center, getting his stand to do all the dirty work. I just run in a circle around the edge, dodge rolling when the black beast flies up from the ground, and I'm fine. Now that Ansem is defeated, it's time for the real final boss, Boat Ansem. This fight has quite a few phases, but honestly, I find it a lot easier than the solo Ansem fight, especially if you have lots of mana. For phase 1, I just keep arrow up and spam combos on him using cure when needed. We get teleported to a dark room full of shadows, which is great for building back some MP. Then I have to take out these weird tentacle cannons, which is super annoying, mainly because I keep hitting it at the wrong angle and all my attacks whiff. I go through the portal and take out the shadow balls to save Goofy. Then I take on the mightiest foe of them all, Boatface. And this guy just makes me fucking laugh every time, man. The final portal takes us to fight some invisibles and recruit Donald, and it's time for the final phase. Again, we just keep arrow up, spam attacks, and use cure liberally to take him down with relative ease. And that's it. We get to enjoy a cutscene where we meet Mickey for the first time, seal the door to darkness, and roll the credits to the best tune around. We get 3 achievements after completing the story: Proud Player, Final Mix Master, and Novice Player. And now, it's time for the post-game. Now, I'm not going to torture you with every painstaking detail of the synth grind, but I'll give you all the highlights. For those that want to know, here's the full synth item list. I'll link it in the description. My first big challenge was the Chimera in Halloween Town for 7 Blazing Stones. Fuck this guy. He's annoying as hell to fight, and the reason the Red Trinity here is all glitched out. To beat him, you have to stun him and then deflect these 3 colored balls that he launches at you to do actual damage. It's not all that hard, but Donald and Goofy always get in the way, the gargoyles are flying around, moving my camera focus all over the place, and it's just straight up tedious. But eventually, I got all the 7 stones and moved on. Next up was the Stealth Soldier for some energy stones. And man, yet again, these guys suck to fight. They're invisible and come at you non-stop like they're Might Guy. The easiest way to take them out is just to spam stop, and we get all the stones that we need. After a glorious amount of grinding, I had most of what I needed and decided to start working my way through the synth list 1 item at a time. I was able to craft enough items right away to get myself up to 15 items, unlocking the Synthesis Amateur achievement. And while working my way through the final few items, I managed to get the Defender Shield drop, contributing towards Goofy's weapon list, as well as unlock the From Rags to Riches achievement for collecting 10,000 money. The only real challenges left in the grind were the Big Ghost and Monstro for Frost Stones, the Pink Agaricus for Serenity Powers, which isn't hard, but it's tedious with only a 10 to 20% drop chance. And finally, the worst enemy in the entire game, the Sniper Wilds. These monkeys suck. If they spot you, they spawn reinforcements and shoot at you until you die. There's no avoiding it once they start, you either die or have to leave the area. I highly recommend waiting until they separate and taking them out at a distance using magic. My strategy was to wait until they hopped up on this ledge, lock on, and spam fire at them. After crafting 30 items, I got myself the Synthesis Vet achievement, and I only had 3 more items to craft. But as this was a pretty casual run, I missed a bunch of synth items in chests and thought, hey, how long could it actually take to grind these out the synthesis way? Turns out, a long fucking time. It took me like 2 hours just to get 1 dark matter. But finally, I made the Fantasista, 7 elements, and the Master Stat Stick of KH1, the Ultima weapon. This gave me the Synthesis Master achievement, and finally, the grind was over. Well, at least the synth grind. Next stop was to finish off the Hades Cup. With the ultimate weapon, Hades was an absolute joke, and the final challenger, the Rock Titan, was even easier than Hades. And with the Hades Cup completed, we got the Storyteller and Colosseum Champion achievements. Now, it was time to take on the endgame bosses. First stop is Agrabah to take on Kurt Zisa. He has an interesting mechanic where he alternates between taking away your magic and only dealing physical attacks, to a phase where he's only affected by magic and does ranged attacks. He's not too tough, although it did take me a couple tries to get used to dodging his Beyblade attack. The key for me was to be really aggressive and use Tink as a safety net before he goes into his second physical phase. And with the Arabian Machamp defeated, we got the Sandy Blade achievement. Next up was Neverland to take on the Phantom. This guy is pretty easy to take out, but also really annoying. He only has 2 attacks, one where he swipes at you and another where he shoots a big energy ball. Both have a huge windup and are really easy to read. The only piece that makes this a bit stressful is the Doom timer. When he casts a timer on you or your party members, it starts counting down from 10, and when it hits 0, you instantly die. The only way to prevent this is to cast Stop on the clock tower face that's ticking down. It's a pretty cool mechanic in theory, but the rest of the boss is so mundane that it just feels like a nuisance. To actually beat this guy, you can only do damage in 3 attack bursts based on the color of his cloak orb. Red means fire, blue means blizzard, etc. This again is a cool mechanic, but given the Phantom's limited capabilities, it basically just turns the fight into a waiting game. But an easy victory rewards me with the Cloaked Shadow achievement, and I head back to the Coliseum to take on the final fights. First, we take on the gold match, and oh boy, this one was a doozy. The approach is pretty different from a lot of other fights. It's basically a Kingdom Hearts version of a bullet hell. You can't really directly attack the Ice Titan. I mean, you can, but it's pretty difficult. Instead, you have to use Guard to reflect his icicle attacks back at him, all while avoiding ice pillars, shockwaves, and ice breath attacks. And no, arrow doesn't work to deflect here. In fact, it just makes him shoot even bigger icicles that are impossible to even guard. He does some pretty big damage and was pretty challenging at first, but once I got the timing on Guard, it's not too bad. Defeating the Ice Titan gives me the Diamond Dust Keyblade and the Frosty Giant achievement. After the Ice Titan, I finished off every other challenge in the Coliseum in preparation for the main event. I'm about level 80 or so, and it was finally time to take on what many claim to be the biggest challenge in KH1. Sephiroth. Oh baby, now this is how you do an endgame boss. He seems absolutely impossible to beat at first with how fast he moves in the range of his abilities, not to mention his big suck attack that takes all your MP and puts you at 1 health. But slowly learning his tells, where to dodge, and finally taking him down is so goddamn satisfying. It feels very reminiscent of that classic Dark Souls feeling of hard but fair. I highly recommend putting on some fire resist gear and making sure you have arrow and cure on shortcuts. From there, I found the best way was to use cure generously and jump combo him as much as possible. When he goes to use his soul drain move, I used strike raid to knock him out of it. In his final phase, things become pretty hectic, but I made sure to keep my health at full and just got a swing in when I could. Taking him down gives me the One-Winged Angel achievement and the Keyblade of the same name for the Blade Master achievement. This fight was hands down my favorite part of 100%ing the game, and it follows it up with a badass Angel v Angel cutscene. After such an immaculate battle, I thought I ought to take a break from the boss fights and went to chat with my old pal Geppetto for some gummy blueprints. And with only a few blueprints short of 30, I completed some tier 3 gummy missions to round out my gummy ship collection, giving me the Gummy Ship Collector achievement. And then I went back to the Coliseum to take out the Rock Titan about 8 more times to get myself up to level 100 and become a level master. Now it was time to take on the final big boss of the game. I won't spoil who it actually is for those who are new to the series, but pay close attention to the weapons. I'm so glad I decided to max levels before taking on this fight because it's an absolute clusterfuck. I had zero clue what was going on at any point. He's spamming attack after attack and moving around so quick, all I could do was stay healthy and pray that spamming X would work. By the grace of the almighty Moogle in the sky, I somehow managed to take him down on only my second try.
Bro, I'm gonna get him! Bro, I'm gonna get him!
And with that, I've defeated every boss in the game. This got me the He Who Doesn't Exist achievement and a whole bunch more for completing the journal, including Searcher, Record Keeper, and Professor. And now we just have to clean up a few final achievements to finish up the Proud Run. I head over to Traverse Town to talk to Merlin for Donald's final weapon, the Dream Rod, unlocking the Master Magician achievement. Then I had to farm some spell arts from the red-headed mushrooms, and collecting them lets me get Goofy's final weapon, the Dream Shield, from Merlin, unlocking the Master Defender achievement. And now I head back to Gummy Space to rack up 2,500 Heartless kills for the Flying Ace achievement, bringing me to 52 achievements and my final achievement of the Proud Mode run. Now, I only need 3 more achievements for 100%. Speedster, Unchanging Armor, and Undefeated. And to get these, I need to play the entire story again, but this time completing it in less than 15 hours without changing any equipment and without using a single continue. So I start a new run on beginner this time, speeding through the story content as fast as I could. Honestly, it felt like a breeze compared to Proud Mode, except for the fact that I was doing chip damage by the end of the game. My only real roadblock was the solo Ansem fight, where I died a handful of times, and since I couldn't use a continue, I had to grind through the boss rush from the start every single time. That is, until I realized I had 8 power-ups and 8 defense ups sitting in my inventory the entire run. No wonder I was doing like 1 HP per hit. Needless to say, after popping all of these, Ansem was no longer an issue and I sweep the final boss rush. Landing the final blow on Boat Ansem got me the Speedster achievement, and after a phenomenal music video and exceptionally long credits, we get the last 2 achievements, Unchanging Armor and Undefeated. And finally, after a solid 60 hours of gameplay, I have all 55 achievements needed to say that I 100% completed Kingdom Hearts 1. If you made it all the way here, thanks. I really appreciate you watching it all the way through. I'm working on 100%ing every Kingdom Hearts game in the series. That includes Days, that includes Coded, so if you want to see them all, subscribe. You can check out my current progress over on Twitch, where I stream all of my gameplay. Next on the docket is Chain of Memories. Peace!